Chiefs Kingdom, what's happening? Gary McKenzie here again, host for Gridiron Lines. It's another episode of RGR Football. Let's get at it. We're going to take a little detour today. We're going to talk about Skyy Moore and the Chiefs offense and how he's been utilized so far this season. But before we get to that, let's jump to the fan shout out. So last week I took a lot of heat from the people in the comments, and I used that to reevaluate some of my thinking. Some of it I agreed with, some of it I did not. But Pie Dessert here had a really good comment, and I feel like it summarized what a lot of commenters were saying. So last week I did a review on the defensive rookies for the Chiefs and how they've performed thus far into the season, at least from week 5. And Pie Dessert had this to say. So he thought I was a tad too tough on the rookies. A lot of the mistakes were to be expected, but I think the game time they're getting and the fact they're holding it down enough for the Chiefs to be 4-1 at the time, now 4-2. We need to look more at the trajectory of their growth because they believe this defense will only get better as the year progresses. So he ends his comment with, "We do need to see the flashes turn into consistency for the Chiefs to win down the stretch." I agree with a lot of that. So first thing that I saw from a lot of comments was I was too harsh with how I reviewed the Chiefs defense. I think that a lot of the commentary that I made was fair, but I didn't spend enough time talking about how it was only week 5 of the season, and the Chiefs defense, they've thrown a lot of rookies into the fire, and what you wanna see from that group is consistent improvement throughout the year. My biggest issue with the Chiefs rookie class so far has been Karlaftis's inability to really seal the deal and sack the quarterback. But he's been forcing a lot of pressures. So he's been getting close, but he hasn't been, you know, finishing the deal. And I saw a stat just today where Karlaftis is one of the top rookie. Uh, he leads. He's one of the top 2 rookies in the NFL as far as forcing pressures. So he's getting there, and he's close, but he's really got to seal the deal. Another thing that kind of stings regarding the Chiefs rookies defensively is that Trent McDuffie got hurt in week 1, and I believe that he is the blue chip defensive player that the Chiefs drafted in 2022, and it's been unfortunate that he hasn't been able to see the field. Another criticism that I got was that PFF is garbage and I shouldn't have used it. I think that's fair. I think PFF has their share of problems. They don't do the best job evaluating players. I should have gone forward with what I truly thought instead of using PFF to do the work, do some of the legwork for me, because I did disagree with PFF in some cases. For instance, they rated Jalen Watson as a below average or an average, uh, backup. I think that he's played a little better than that this year. He's shown a lot of good things for being, a late round rookie. He's been really put in a tough position so far this season with McDuffie getting hurt. And I think that the Chiefs defense is only better for him being out there on the field. What I want to see from the Chiefs defense going forward is the same thing they've done with Spagnuolo every year. I want to see them continuously improve throughout the rest of the season. That means you wanna see guys like McDuffie stepping up, Karlaftis getting to the quarterback more, the secondary players like Cook, Joshua Williams, and Jalen Watson continuing to make an impact. And we also wanna see some things from Leo Chenal. He's played, 20% of the defensive snaps, and you haven't heard his name called too much. So, you wanna see these players continue to improve. Do I still feel concerned about the Chiefs' defense where they stand right now? I'm gonna say, yes, I do. And the reason for that is I think that for the Chiefs to really make a a push late into the playoffs, and maybe I shouldn't even word it that way. I think for the Chiefs to have their best shot of winning the Super Bowl, they need their defense to be a top 10 unit. And right now, they're not a top 10 unit. I think if they are able to progress through the season, continue to improve, and at the end of the year, they're top 10 unit, then I think that Mahomes and the Chiefs are more than good enough to make it to the Super Bowl and win another one, but they've gotta keep improving. And I wanted to say again, we're just 5 we were just 5 games in the season at that point in time. Now we're 6. So, I think that with Willie Gay coming back and Trent McDuffie coming back, now is the time for the Chiefs defense to really show what they're made of and start that decline in points per game allowed. They've done well in limiting yards per play defensively. That hasn't matched up with the points that they're giving up. At some point in time, these things have to come together, and it starts with forcing turnovers and taking care of that aspect of the game. Going into the Bills game, they were 31st in turnovers. The Chiefs secondary or the Chiefs defense is last in the NFL in interceptions. They only have 1 interception through 6 games, and their pass defense has gotta start forcing turnovers. The Chiefs defense, once they start turning teams over, they're gonna give up fewer points. You saw that versus the Bills. The Bills turned it over on downs once, and they fumbled a backwards pass as it was a throw that or toss that Josh Allen never should have made, but he did anyways, and the Chiefs got the ball, and they ended up holding a really good Bills offense to 24 points. So defense looked good in their last matchup versus the Bills, but they still have a lot of improvement to go through. As far as Kalafdis goes, I am not throwing the towel in on him. It's his first year. He's a young rookie. He's in a rough situation trying to play a lot of snaps for a Chiefs defense that needs pass rush help. And his style of play is the type of style that I think is going to pay dividends once it gets colder, once teams get more fatigued through the year. He has a relentless motor. I really like that about him. And if you remember Tom Ali, it took him a little while to get going too. I think those 2 have that similarity. They both have that same kind of motor, that high level of effort on every play. And so I really like that about Karlaftis. So that's what I've got to say about the comments from last week. I want to say thank you for all of you keeping me honest. It's good to see, people, telling me where I'm wrong. I really do appreciate it because it gives me a second to take a step back and look at, you know, what I think. Am I wrong? Am I going against, what most people believe? And you know what? Even if I do go against what most people believe, that's okay because I've always believed in, you know, stating what I believe to be true. And that's what I'm going to give you, week in, week out. So once again, I really do appreciate the comments. It gave me the opportunity to go back, rethink some of the things I was going through, and give a little bit of more background on, how and why I made the decisions that I made. So our little detour today that we're going to go through, I want to talk about Skyy Moore a little bit. So you're looking here at a bunch of stats, receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and snaps. These are 4 mystery players, and these 4 mystery players, these are their stats for their first 6 games as a rookie with Andy Reid as their head coach. So kind of take a look at this and think about, okay, who's who? The very first receiver is Tyreek Hill. He had 14 receptions during his first 6 games as a rookie, 87 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and he had 83 snaps. So he saw the field the least out of all these players, out of all these wide receivers that are here, and, you know, he ended up being one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. The second player, I wanna give you an opportunity to try to guess who it is Jeremy Maclin. So with the Eagles, during his first 6 games as a rookie, he had 13 receptions for 193 yards. Whew, that's a lot of yards per reception, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Unfortunately, this is before, Pro Football Reference took track or kept track of everyone's snaps, so I don't have that information. The next receiver is going to surprise some of you. So this receiver's first 6 games as a rookie, he had 16 receptions, 291 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and had 260 offensive snaps in his first 6 games. That's over 40 snaps per game. That player is none other than Mecole Hardman. And we don't have to go into too much detail about, how there's been a little bit of polarization around Mecole Hardman. I personally like his game. He had a really good game against the Bills. I think he brings an element of speed to the Chiefs offense. He can, take the top off the defense occasionally. I like McCole Hardman, so I'm not one of those, people that have been anti-McCole. I'm a big supporter of his. I think he brings a really good element to this Chiefs offense when he's used properly. And then the last mystery receiver is Skyy Moore. So Skyy Moore has had 6 receptions in 6 games for 100 receiving yards, and he's had 90 snaps. So the comparison I wanna make here is that Skyy Moore had 90 snaps after 6 games, Tyreek Hill had 83. Tyreek Hill was coming from a running back position in college. He didn't do a lot of wide receiver work, so he was really growing and learning. Skyy Moore doesn't have that. He was a wide receiver in college. But unlike defensive players, I think offensive players, especially in Andy Reid's offense, they need time to learn and to understand all the different positions because Coach Reid likes it, all of his receivers to be able to move from one position to another, whether there's the X position or the Z. Like he likes to move them around. And so Skyy Moore is still in the process of doing that. Now, he's seen his snap percentages somewhat grow throughout the first 6 weeks of the season. So in week 1, he had 19% snap percentage, so he's out there for 19% of the Chiefs' offensive plays. Week 2, he was only out there for 4%. So the Chiefs, coaching staff must have saw something that they didn't feel comfortable with on week 1, and so they decided to dial it back a bit. Or the game plan dictated, them to use other weapons. And week 3, he saw 13%. Week 4, he saw 28%. Week 5, he saw 35%. So here you go. You see this continuous growth for Skyy Moore. And then week 6, he saw 30%. So week 6 was an interesting game. There were only 58 offensive plays for the Chiefs versus the Bills. But I want to say to Chiefs fans who are, yearning for more Skyy Moore, I just want to say be patient. Um, I like his game. I think he's got good strong hands. He's got a strong lower half. He can run with the ball after the catch. So look for the Chiefs to continue to sprinkle him in. And you got to keep in mind there's a lot of mouths to feed on that Chiefs offense. You got Smith Schuster, you got MVS, you got Hardman, you've got Kelsey, all players who can put some numbers up. And so Skyy Moore is competing against that. Maybe the plan all along was for Juju Smith-Schuster to get the lion's share of this season, and then the hope is that Skyy Moore can fill his role next year after Smith-Schuster, hits free agency. He might have a pretty high demand for pay. Smith-Schuster might. So Chiefs might decide to let him go and supplant him with Skyy Moore, and then look for another either wide receiver in the draft or another wide receiver in free agency. I would say I think there's a lot of good things with Skyy Moore's game. He's seen about as many snaps as Tyreek Hill saw. He has more yards than Tyreek Hill did. And so I think that he can still be a positive player for this Chiefs offense going forward. And you want to see him continue to be worked in more throughout the season. Now, we're going to do the same thing we've done every week. I'll try to abbreviate it so this video doesn't go too long, but we're going to grade Andy Reid once again like we've done every week. And so the 4 categories are team preparedness, key decisions, play calling, and then the outcome of the game. So this is it as it relates to the Chiefs matchup versus the Bills. And as far as team preparedness goes, there were 5 penalties that the Chiefs had for 58 yards. One was an ineligible receiver downfield where Creed Humphrey literally blocked his defender into outer space, and he was too far down the field, so he got penalized for being too good. And that ended up taking a play back from the Chiefs that was a borderline touchdown. It might have been a touchdown, but it was called back. Smith-Schuster got caught for taunting. I saw it on the broadcast. It didn't look like he did very much, but this has become a pattern for the Chiefs. They've been getting flagged a lot for these taunting penalties. So it's almost like, once you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar once, everyone's watching you. And so the Chiefs will continue to have this problem. And so this needs to be addressed. This is something Coach Reid needs to address with the team. I know that Frank Clark said that the Chiefs need to play a good Christian-like game. I think that was uh, a good way to put it. So the Chiefs need to just put their heads down and know that they have bullseyes on their back for these taunting calls or these penalties, and they just need to keep it to themselves and clean it up. I thought both the offense and the defense looked ready to play in this game. They put out a good effort versus the Bills. There was only one false start, and both groups had really good energy. Mahomes did have 2 interceptions, and both of these were where he was, pressuring himself to make a play. And I'm not gonna harp too much on these because Mahomes knows what he did wrong. He's gonna watch the tape. He's gonna see that he made, the first interception to Kyer Elam. He probably shouldn't have thrown that ball. He was being aggressive. I don't fault him for that. And then the last one, he just didn't see the safety coming down. So he knows what he did wrong, and I don't expect this to be a continued problem. But overall, I thought the team looked sharp. They were ready to play, so I give Coach Reid a 17 out of 20. In key decisions, there were no challengeable plays in this game. Um, the Chiefs did choose to kick a long field goal before halftime, where Butker broke the week-long field goal distance record held by Matt Wright, and he opposed to kick that field goal on the other side of the arrowhead. So Butker was kicking on the wrong side of the arrowhead. It was over 60 yards, a 62-yard field goal, and he ended up making it. It was 4th down, and there wasn't a lot of time left, so it was a good decision. Reid made the right decision in that situation. With 4:52 in the first quarter with a 0-0 score, there's a 4th and 2 from Buffalo 15, and Coach Reid decided to go for it there, and Mahomes ended up picking it up as he scrambled for 6 yards. I agree with that play call. I agree with going for it in that situation. I think that the Chiefs need to remain to be aggressive through the season, and it's gonna pay off with more points. They're gonna score more points because of it. And my 1,000 play rule, if the Chiefs did that again, went for it on 4th and 2 in that situation 1,000 times, would they get it more than 500? Yeah, I think they'd get that one probably 700, 800 times. So it was a no-brainer. I also thought Coach Reid managed the clock well throughout the game. The Chiefs ended up getting the ball back with about a minute left and 2 timeouts, which was plenty of time for Mahomes to go down and try to score a touchdown. So I had very little complaints about um, Coach Reid's uh, key decisions in this game. The only complaint I have is that in the 3rd quarter, 4th and 6 on Buffalo's 33, Butker missed a 51-yard field goal. I don't necessarily think that going for it would have been the best decision, but because Butker missed it, you have to take some of the outcome into effect. Overall, I thought Coach Reid did a great job managing the game. Gave him a 28 out of 30 versus the Bills. Regarding play calling, so this is where things get a little bit interesting. The Chiefs passed the ball 44 times and ran the ball 14 times. That's a 76% pass percentage and a 24% run percentage. This is by far the highest margin the Chiefs had all year long. So they had a bad mixture of balance in the offense between the run and the pass. And if you remember the last time the Chiefs beat the Bills in the regular season, they ran the ball a lot and had success. We all know this old tired habit that Coach Reid has. He'll pay a little lip service to the run game, run it 1 or 2 times, and then all of a sudden, if it doesn't work, he just gets away from it. I would have liked to see Coach Reid continue to try to run the ball throughout the game and try to establish that to help Mahomes a little bit. However, Mahomes didn't need much help in this game because the Chiefs' offense averaged 6.7 yards per play. And this is great against the Bills defense. I think up to this point in the season, the Chiefs had averaged 5.8 yards per play going into week 6. And so they had a better output versus a vaunted Bills defense. So I'm very impressed with Coach Reid's play calling. And some of those play calls, the offense, was gearing up and putting Hardman in positions versus a linebacker or a safety one-on-one in space. And that's a matchup that Hardman's gonna win 95% of the time, and he did. He caught a couple deep passes early. I thought the first 15 plays were effective. They resulted in the Chiefs getting deep into Bills' territory, scoring a touchdown on one of them, and then the interception to Elam was the other. I didn't see enough Pacheco through the game, so that goes in the same vein of running the ball. He can also catch the ball. I think that whenever Pacheco's on the field, he's an energy giver. So on the one catch he got about 10 yards on the play and ended up going full head steam ahead and running into a Bills defender and, doing his usual Isaiah Pacheco routine. I think when he's on the field, he gives the offense some energy. And if the Chiefs are ever kind of struggling to move the ball, it would be good to start trying to go to him because he really, you can just see from the way he plays, he picks everyone up. The fans love it. And I think he's just got a little bit of kind of that personality that gives energy to the rest of the team. And that's a good thing to have. Because of all that, I think that Coach Reid did a really good job with play calling. The Chiefs' offense was efficient. I would have liked to have seen them run the ball more. I would have liked to have seen them mix in a little more plays that went to Skyy more. I would have liked to have seen them try to go to Fortson in the red zone, use a little more Pacheco. They did try to go to Fortson once in the end zone, but the play was called back for a penalty. But overall, I thought Reed had a really strong play calling outing versus the Bills. So I give him 25 out of 30. Lastly, we have the outcome. The Bills are a dang good team, and the Chiefs hung with them till the very end. They had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter with a minute left, and they just couldn't get it done. You have to expect these back and forth games between these two awesome teams, and so I really don't fault Reed too much for losing this game. The Chiefs secondary, you have to remember, was playing more rookies than I can count, and even DiCaprio Boodle got into the game at some point in time. So the Chiefs had their work cut out for them. They played admirably, and I don't think that I should be too harsh with Reed for the outcome of this game. So I gave him a 15 out of 20. Overall, you got an 85 out of 100 for this game versus the Bills, a solid B. I think most of you would probably agree with me. If you don't, let me know in the comments. Like I said, I love the constructive criticism. And if you're going looking at the average for Coach Reed through the season, he's averaging 75%. The Chiefs have a 4-2 record. They're in first place in the AFC. They share a 4-2 record with the Chargers, but they have that tiebreaker over the LA Chargers. And if you take away that one game that he had versus the Colts, where he scored a 21 out of 100, he'd be getting an 86%. So it's hard whenever you bomb a game like he did against the Colts and scored 21 out of 100, but he earned that 21. It was a very bad game for the Chiefs, and overall he is at a 75% with a 4-2 record. But without that game, he would have had an 86%. I want to say that as far as the curve or the standard that I'm grading on, I'm grading based on Coach Reed's performance in the past with Mahomes. So the bar is already set so high, and it's going to be hard for him to get an A through the season. An A season for Coach Reed would be, something like a 15-2 record, and the Chiefs, go deep in the playoffs, make it to the Super Bowl, all that good stuff. A B season, would be a 13-4 record, something like that. So it's hard for Coach Reed to get an A based on all of the prior work that he's put forward. Now, you may disagree with that grading. Maybe you think that Coach Reed should have gotten, an A for his last, 4 or 5 years with Mahomes. And it's okay to disagree in that case. But with all that said, that's the last that I have to go through regarding Coach Reed's grade. Where do you think I went wrong? What are areas in the game that you thought the Chiefs could have done better versus the Bills? What do you think about, Skyy Moore's usage? Should he get used more? Are you happy with his growth? And what do you think about the defensive players again? Um, do you think that I'm still too harsh on Karlaftis? I still need to, give him more time. I will say that he's on pace for 1.5 sacks for the season, and I think that needs to improve. But I won't harp on that too much. I think the Chiefs defense is going to get better, with the addition of Willie Gay coming back and then McDuffie coming back. I have a lot of confidence in McDuffie. We'll see if that pays out, but I think that he's going to help the defense a lot. Other than that, that's all I've got today. I want to say thank you once again for coming back for another episode of Gridiron Lines. I really appreciate, your time. Make sure you like and comment and subscribe. Uh, it helps us here at RGR get to where we're wanting to go. I just want to say thank you again to everyone who took the time out of their day to watch this video. With that, this is Gary, signing out.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.